Oh, welcome back to not really co-op, but co-op kinda. What we're doing instead of co-op for a little bit, we're doing another tier list. I'm joined again by Dusk and Cranberry. We're doing Cranberry, I'm gonna let you explain this since you put this together actually.
So this is a tier list of the Hellhorned clan combos.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the little blue symbol, hopefully you're familiar with, it symbolizes the Exile clan. And I didn't do it for the secondary clans because the only difference when you're talking about the secondary clans, whether they're exiled or not, is just a starter card. Um, so it shouldn't be. There is an exception here, especially with melting. The primitive mold is actually extremely relevant for a lot of Hellhorn strategies, so it's kind of relevant with the melting clan, but for the most part, it shouldn't deviate too much. So I kept them compiled as one. Otherwise, we'd have twice as many symbols, and the whole thing would get bogged down very quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
It would take a hell of a lot of time to explain too, so
Yeah, agree.
a lot of repeating as well. Just like it's the same, but like a little bit different this time. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and we're just gonna, I think the plan is we have this to start with Hellhorned, and then next time we're going to leave the tier list. Like once we're done, we'll leave it filled out, and then next week we'll do this again with the Hellhorned clans on, and we'll add the Awoken clans, and then we'll do that for all of the main clans. That's the plan, generally.
yeah, we're gonna try to look at these clans compared to each other. So like anything we put in an S tier or whatever is gonna be compared to the S tiers of the other clans. So hopefully it kind of makes sense in the end once you see them all together. But yeah, there might be some reshuffling once we actually start looking at the other clans too. So
Yeah, I can't wait to get to the melting video, and half of the video is just going, yeah, so Little Fade's going in S tier. Just
Yeah.
six times. Yep, Little Fade.
hmm
That's S tier.
true enough. Yeah.
Don't want to spoil it too much ahead, guys. But did you even put anything from this list in the S tier?
Yes,
Uh,
two of them actually.
Oh wow.
I haven't thought that far ahead yet. I think that I would probably give one or two, yeah. Two that I can see.
I'm actually putting none right now in, but
Mm, that's exciting. Yeah, we didn't. I think last week we kind of like planned it out and did it all ahead of time. This week it was kind of like, hey guys, you want to do this real quick? So I haven't pre-made the tier list and thought this out too much. Like I have a general idea of what I'm gonna feel for each of these, but you know,
hmm
you guys wanna anything you wanna say, or you wanna just get started?
I'm good.
I'm also good.
All right, let's get to it then. Up first, we got Hellhorned Awoken, just default, the classic.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of upfront say kind of what my philosophy is on this tiering. Before we started this video, I had like 10 minutes to think it through, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
basically looking at like an S tier as I basically treat that as unlosable. Like you have tons of options, numerous high rolls, and it's awesome. It always feels great. Whereas like the F tier is going to just be deadly, usually requiring very big brain plays in order to win. And you're just going to struggle because maybe the strategies are counter to one another, things like that.
Yeah,
So that's essentially how I'm looking at this. And I'm going to say, I think the first one that we're talking about here, Hellhorned Awoken, I actually have as S tier. And that's kind of why I wanted to say that
yeah.
because there's a lot here, and feel free to interrupt me before I ramble for like however long I'm about to talk. But you know, things that can enable Brawler Prince make the clan combo with Prince significantly better. So you're going to see that I'm going to rank things that have like anything that makes root seeds available or anything that makes razor sharp edge or the rage adaptive mutation combo that I think is really important to talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
All of these open it up a lot. Brawler Prince also loves cultivate from like Awoken Hollow. There's just a lot here that works, and both of the Awoken starters are really good in this setup.
Yeah. I was thinking similarly. So I was going to say I was going to put this in A tier initially, but as you were talking there, I was thinking about it a little more, and everything that you said, because I was going to put this A tier, and I was going to say, okay, but what about when you don't see Brawler Prince? But Hellhorned itself has Hard Warrior, and you have Animus of Will to fill the same sort of role. So I think that you can, even if you miss Brawler Prince, you can fill and do the same sort of run with Default or Exile. And I think that this is a pretty good clan combo, yeah. I think I would also put it in S upon a little bit of further thought.
I'm a little skeptical. I'm gonna leave it at A tier for me at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's fair.
It's got a lot of good things. It's got great units in Awoken, some less great units in Hellhorned, but some passable ones too. Still,
I mean,
Brawler Prince, I think we all agree, is kind of a stinky champion. But like you said, Awoken is probably maybe tied with or better than Wormkin for enabling Brawler Prince to actually do things. You got, like you said, Root Seeds, Razor Sharp Edge, which is a little spooky but still pretty good. You've got, just in your own clan, you've got Rage. I guess Steel Enhancer to like a minor extent too. And then also Cultivating. So you got a lot of good things. There's a little bit of that anti synergy with healing and armor. It's not great. Like, pick one, don't do both, basically. So
Yeah.
yeah,
you could not get there on either side sometimes. So it's a little spooky.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's worth considering here is that Hellhorned has extremely good attack scaling in the form of rage or just rage, quite frankly. That's basically
Mhm.
it. But you've got infusions that make rage very possible with like fledgling imp or branded warrior or whatever. You've got the deranged brute high roll that just
Mhm.
goes
oh
crazy,
yeah,
ritual battle in your starter. And you can always play that with one of the two sweepers in Awoken, which is nuts. I mean, it is the quintessential quick sweep forehead win game pretty
Mhm.
much.
yeah.
And I know that like everyone's got an opinion on the Alpha Fiend infusion, but like I can make it work. I can win with it. It feels good when it feels good. It's not going to be an every kind of run thing, but you have a lot of options
Mhm.
is really what I'm getting at. And I think that's what makes me rank it so highly.
When you're talking to Alpha Fiend Gaming over here, I'm
Yeah,
all about that life.
yeah, Cranberry is the Alpha Fiend guy now. No, I think
Mhm.
we covered it pretty well. There's a lot to like in Hellhorned Awoken. I think it is a pretty good like what do you want? Like it's like the ironclad of this game kind of. It's like your standard. This is what you start with, and I feel like there's a lot that's good to like about it.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, it's definitely a good intro to the game. I think it's got the most basic mechanics of all of the clans. So,
Yeah, imagine starting the game with melting.
yeah, like if you want to have a real terrible time, start with like melting Stygian or something.
Oh, I'll start with the Umbra melting. Start with Penumbra.
That
Oh,
would be tough. Here's your intro to the game. Have some morsels.
here's morsels. By the way, they don't work like anything you would expect, and they break everything. That would be fun. But I think this clan combo is good. You have like the one thing that I think is really scary about this clan combo is if you miss all of your scaling in the commons, your scaling is going to be pretty bad most likely. You can hit like a good rare, but there's not very good uncommon cards in these clans, I don't feel like.
What are you talking about? Inflame. Take that back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not very many good uncommons. You're right. There are a few that kind of work if you're looking for something specific, like March of Shields if you really need armor, like Awake if you really need a big heal. But you're not very excited about those packs. You're basically looking for rares after you see, Ring 3 or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe like if you're playing imps, maybe and the good uncommon cards are all imp cards. And
Yeah,
if you're not
true.
playing imps, they are bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and all of the imp cards are really good if you're playing imps. So that's a fair
Mm-hmm.
point.
All right. I think that covers unless you have anything else, anyone?
No, I'm good.
I am also good.
All right. I think this is a pretty solid combo. It's a little scary with Prince, though. Prince is one of the champions that I think has a dead path. We'll talk about that more as we go through, though, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Up next is Exile Hellhorned with Awoken. Eh, you know,
I have it worse because I think Queen has worse synergy,
yeah.
but I also think Queen is a perfectly good enough champion and I think has better low rolls. So, like, imagine this combo, but you don't see Brawler and I don't know, Wrathfuls just doesn't make sense for some reason. Then Prince will be worse than the Imp Parade or Imperialist start.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
it's
Mhm.
but it's still kind of awkward either way. I don't know. I have this one as A tier because all of the same positives apply, but I think that Prince actually synergizes better with Awoken overall.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it B tier. I'm not a bit. I think that Queen. So like you can play this run and you can pick up Imperialist Queen and you can play her like Spike Sentient and then you just play like a regular Awoken run. You put like a scaler with a hollow on the top floor and you just kick your feet up, right? And that's good. But I think outside of that, like trying to fit Queen into your run with Awoken is super awkward generally, I feel like. And so I'm not a huge fan of it. Rage feels a little worse. Like you're not playing towards Hellhorned in this clan. I think you're playing towards Awoken, and I think that Queen just kind of gets in the way.
I agree with your assessment there. I think you are in this clan combo playing mostly towards Awoken, but I think it's still pretty solid. You trade out the carry potential of Brawler for Queen, who if you're playing Imp Parade, you get like free fledgling imps every turn, which is pretty sick. Like that's like a nice value there. If you're playing Imperialist, like you said, it's kind of like a budget Spike Sentient sort of thing, but it also still kind of works. And then you still have, the clan itself, like Awoken has great units, Hellhorn has great buffs or just armor. Like they still work. I feel like pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think I rate Imp Parade a little higher here just because of the clan combo.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
for again the same reasons you did, right? Like the Rage Imp, really. If this were pre DLC before this thing was doing 5 Rage, I think it would be really bad. I would rank it much lower. But because I think Imp Parade is a lot more playable in this combo and in general right now, I've kind of turned around a lot on it. I think that it's okay. I think it's all right, and you still get all the other benefits. It's hard for me to look at a clan combo that has Rage Adaptive Mutation natively and feel bad about it, right?
yeah. One thing that I do want to point out though with Imp Parade, I don't know if this will be a big shift, but when I envision the run with this, it's like you're probably putting Queen on a lower or higher floor, and then just playing like Animus with a Hollow or something like that. And if you do that, you have to take space to play those fledgling imps in. And I think if you're playing Imp Parade, you're probably taking space anyway. But like it does feel kind of awkward that one of the paths that's good, assuming you miss Imperial, is you're just kind of forced into taking space. It feels like the new monstrous Penumbra almost.
Yeah, you're absolutely forced into taking space if you have Imp Parade. There's just no way around it. You generate too much stuff. You're gonna
Yeah,
run out of room.
You can do separate floor setups though, and only take like one space prism, like or one space upgrade. I mean, and
yeah,
like just you player mid floor, and she might die after 3 rounds in the divinity, but like she generated 10 rage for your floor. That's like better than like a lot of champions can do in this game, honestly, for the divinity fight. So it's not worthless. And then like, hey, good,
Yeah,
good.
I'm
Like
with
like
you.
Awoken has just busted units, like especially for the divinity. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I think you can also, if you go all in on Imp Parade that way, you can save the queen with the welder helper on
mhm.
her floor, and then just use the rage imp to chump block up top, get destroyed, and then apply rage, and it just accelerates your scaling. Right? It means you don't have to do things like self-infuse the Woken Hollow because the
Mhm.
rage makes up the difference and stuff like that.
Yeah. I also think that this combo, like if you could just guarantee endless in this combo in some way, I would probably move it up a tier as well. Because like endless imps with this combo feels really good.
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah, I
any
mean,
anytime with Queen,
you
I
do have
guess.
the transcendent infusion that you can do in an emergency, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. Cranberry, what tier did you say you put this in?
A tier.
Okay,
I,
that's
I
what I
might have
thought.
not even said, but yeah, A tier for both of
I
for
thought
me.
so. All right. Anything else about this combo here?
nah.
I do think that this is one that really you don't see a big difference between default and exile. I think exile's probably a little worse actually because you don't get the healing for a hollow. But yeah, Cranberry, anything else?
Stop asking me. I have nothing else.
All right, just making sure. Don't wanna make sure you don't have any like secret. But wait a minute, I got a crazy theory.
No, no theories.
All right. Up next then is Hellhorned Stygian. I'm gonna give you this is probably gonna be my hot take, but I really hate this combo. I think that this combo because so right now I'm in a philosophy of this game where once you get past Daedalus, your run probably has a winning line somewhere as long as you didn't like not click on units. So this is a combo that I think of all of the combos that we'll talk about has the most trouble getting out. I think it's a little worse if you're Stygian Hellhorned, I guess, but like I find myself because all of the units have low health and you're not gonna have great incants early game. And I kind of struggle with this combo.
Yeah, I mean, I think default Hellhorned is better just
Yeah,
because of the existence of Torch.
I agree.
So even if you're dealing with Prince, and Stygian has no like scaling really that you could put into Prince, so Brawler's kind of closed off to you.
Hmm.
I think it's not great, but there is the armor high roll in this one with
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Railhammer plus like Guardian Stone or something. So you've got some positives here, and at least both of your starters are spells. Now we'll talk about the Hellhorn version of this, the Exile Hellhorn version of this later. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I think the one with Torch is functional. I
Yeah,
have this one as a B tier for that reason.
I gave it C tier, by the way. This
I
is
didn't give
this
this
is
anything yet.
go on, Cranberry.
I also put a B tier.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, go ahead if you have anything to say.
Oh, not really. The Torch
Yeah.
thing I didn't even think about, but it's a pretty solid argument to make it like a slightly stronger pick in the early game.
Mm-hmm.
But my mindset was just like I struggled to rank any Stygian combo below like maybe like some of the worst ones go to C tier, but Stygian itself can like I find that late game it can powerhouse its way through, but like the early game is still going to be a trouble no matter what. So that was just kind of my mindset. They're just default B tier for it because like you have some good stuff. You have the armor synergies, like you said. You've got like I don't know. You can do some weird raid shenanigans. I've had I think probably one or two times where I've done deranged brute with angry sirens. That's always been
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you've got some cool maneuvers. Uh, it's just it is tough in the early game especially.
Yeah.
But not too bad. Stygian's just strong spells,
it's funny
some strong units. Yeah.
you rate the Stygian combos really high, and like I'm looking at where I've got my Exile Hellhorn Stygian, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that there are a few things that I want to mention as positives for this combo of Hellhorn Stygian. You have a sweeper, so you are open. Like, there's 2 sweep units in Stygian, so you're open to playing Rage Sweep, which is always very good. That is a brain off combo. However, it's like it is worse than Awoken because your sweeper has 10 or 15 health instead of the normal 30 or Shattered Shell. And
Agreed. Yeah.
I think that it's easy to how do you put it, right? It's like if you don't see sirens early and you just see like a bunch of frontliners, like say you see nothing but sharks early, I think that you can die to Daedalus with this combo. It's like okay, but I think it's very shaky, and your champion probably becomes irrelevant very quickly in this combo because you can't scale it.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can kill Daedalus with a hot shark pretty easily.
Yeah, that's true.
But you are right that you can definitely get some, games where you just get no actual damage unit and you just die to Daedalus for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to think what they could show me in banners. Like, assume you get absolutely no trials for units,
hmm
and I guess your banners would have to be something like Armor Shark and one of the sweepers, I
yeah.
guess.
Armor Shark's Icy Silliphite. I think I've had that exact thing
Yeah.
happen to me.
I think I've had that happen a few times, and usually I get out by like throwing a large stone on the sire on the icy cellophite or whatever,
Yeah,
and hopefully find a solution. But it does put you behind, right? Because not only are you having a hard time surviving, you have to burn resources to stay alive.
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. I'm trying not to have my opinion of this combo shaped by a few bad rolls, but I think that the rolls existing and the fact that it's not like it's reasonable to see it happen, right? Because if you start with uh no like one unit draft and the unit draft shows you a bunch of Hellhorn units, you could just see yourself falling apart. You kind of have to like I guess this is what I don't like about it now that I think about it more. You kind of gamble when you pick your prince, right? If you're shown Brawler or Rage Prince, you have to guess if the game's going to show you a frontline or backline unit,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the thing about Hellhorned in general is you're always going to run the risk of what if all my banners are just like Demon Fiend Consumer of Crowns and
Yeah.
you neither is playable. How do you not die? And I believe there must exist challenge seeds out there somewhere that have those roles, and it's just a nightmare. But I want to believe that there's always a solution, right? I don't think that's unwinnable. There's got to be something there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to note that, especially with the brawler line, there is no support in Stygian for it. It is basically just like, hey, I need to have like Ritual of Battle or something to make this man actually do
Yeah.
damage.
Yeah. hundred
For
percent.
sure. That's like you need a
Mhm.
ritual battle starter. You can't do it basically. Or
Mhm.
like Rage Imp.
You need something.
Or Inflame.
Uh huh.
I don't think I would start it with Inflame only.
It's 4 Rage. Come on.
We need some Rage Serum in there too.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right. Anything else about this one?
No, that's
No.
it.
All right. So Exile, Hellhorn, Stygian. I am going to just tell you, everything that I said about the last combo, the same and worse. I'm slapping this in F tier. I hate it.
Yep, I have this in F tier as well.
Dang.
I think this is a brutal combo because imps don't really play nicely with Stygian.
Mm-hmm.
So half of your starters are units, which means incanting is hard, and Queen is usually not able to easily solo, and most of the tanks in Stygian either require incants or have to like have endless. And if you miss what you need for those, they don't get you through even the mid game, and it can be really brutal.
Yeah. I'm just thinking for a second because I like I said before, I was kind of just like, Stygian is good no matter what. But you
Mm-hmm.
guys are making some compelling points here. My philosophy when I was thinking about it was like, yeah, they do not mesh well together, but individually they're pretty strong. Like Shardtail Queen, is definitely not good in the early game, definitely, but she's like, she can snowball, she can do some stuff. And then Stygian, you can just, you can always just incant, incant to the end. So,
I go on.
but
Sorry.
you make an excellent point of Exile Hellhorn gives you imps, so you have less spells initially to actually incant with. There's some issues there. So you
Yeah.
know what? I'm gonna revert. I'm gonna actually for the first time ever change my mind here in the middle of a tier list. I'm gonna go
Ooh.
down to C tier.
All
I'm
right,
not willing to
yeah.
put it in F tier because I feel like both clans individually are pretty strong and you can always just kind of ignore one and just play the other. But there's been compelling arguments made.
Yeah.
I,
My big problem is that it needs so many removals to stabilize, and you almost never see enough removals to clear everything so that you can actually focus on what you want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually think that as we go through, we'll work it out for sure. But I think that maybe the hardest combo in the game is Exile Hellhorned, Exile Stygian, because in that combo, incant lines are basically closed off. It's probably actually Exile Stygian, Exile Hellhorned is the worst one because you have Soulguard in that and he has to incant, like you don't have a choice. But like generally
Mm,
speaking, in that combo, I feel like you end up on like maybe 2 spell casts per turn, which is just not enough in the early game. And like you said, you have to remove a lot to stabilize that combo.
I slightly
Yeah.
disagree, but we'll talk about it more when we get to that episode, like a week from or 3 weeks
2 weeks
from
from
now.
now. 2 weeks from
Yeah,
now.
two
Yeah.
weeks,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Yeah, I've
I
got opinions on that. I think it's probably worse with Queen than Soulguard, since you only need 4 incants on floor 1 through 3 to get Titan Channel aboard, and then it just solos. So there's that. But
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's also the you could potentially get a welder helper with cold channel, and it's one of the strongest cold channel lines.
Yeah, that's
So
true
I
too.
so I actually think that the Queen is significantly worse than Soulguard in that case. And I would probably rate that one higher, like a C tier, whereas I consider the Queen being an F tier combo here because what are you doing with the Queen? Like, you take Rally and maybe get her up to like 40 damage so she dies on Daedalus. Imperialist is okay, but it's not going to win the boss fight. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
solve that somehow. And then Imp Parade does nothing but gives you Queen Implings, which are terrible in the beginning. There's just your champion does nothing and you have to somehow just hit a miracle to win.
Yeah. I think that generally what you're going to end up doing is I think that the reason that I rate this so low is not because I don't think there's a winning line. I think that the problem is that the winning line can't really use Stygian units. Like maybe if you go Imp Parade, you can do it with a sweeper, but I feel like you have to use Queen as a tank and use her like Imp start to chump block, and then you have to have something else behind her like a Horned Warrior. And I feel like that's mostly all you can do.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I don't think any clan combo is unwinnable right now. I think that I still currently, given the current balance, think that every single possible combo is winnable no matter what.
I don't
And
know.
I'm pretty confident.
What
The
about
question is,
what
go
about
ahead, go
Exile
for it.
Melting Main though? It's pretty
You're,
hard.
oh, yeah, you're
Hard.
right. That requires some big brain.
It's hard to make it to the end of the run. I feel like without falling asleep.
True. And then you just misplay, and then it's just too hard.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think that I agree though. I don't think there's a losing like there's not a guaranteed losing run, but I think there are runs that require you to make more uh obtuse plays, I would say.
Yeah, that's the right way of saying it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that this is one of them where it's like, you know, like it's the problem is just the problem isn't the clan combo itself. The problem is that the queen is really weak early.
Fair, yeah. I mean, because you're relying on other things to solve your early game problems here.
Yeah. I think that probably when we get to Soulguard Exile, I'll probably add another tier to this because I feel like he's not quite F tier when you make a good point with the Welder Helper. I'm planning on adding more tiers to this. I don't know about you guys for when we're
Oh,
done.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think there needs to be like a between C and F because,
Absolutely.
yeah.
C sharp maybe.
Yeah, C
Hey, there
sharp.
you go.
All
Maybe have a
right.
Tethys tier at the end.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You just cut to the chase. Put all the Tethys combos right at the bottom.
Oh no.
Quick episode.
Mhm.
All right, you ready to move on?
Let's do it.
Hellhorned Umbra. I mean, morsels, am
Yeah.
I right, fellas?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty obvious I don't feel very highly about morsels in general.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that I think I would put in a D tier if it existed on this thing, but
Yeah.
right now I have an F
You
because
you can add a D tier if you want.
oh yeah, fair. Oh yeah, I see how to do that.
Yeah,
Cool.
you click the little
Mhm.
cog and you add one in. I think honestly
Yeah.
I may as well add one right now.
I'll add it, but I'm fucking leaving it in F tier. You can't change my mind.
That's fair, that's fair. I don't know if I'm gonna put this in D tier, but like I know I'm gonna put this in D tier here, so we may as well make it now before I forget.
Yeah. No, it's for me, this one is tough because the combos just don't play nice with each other. They don't really
Mm-hmm.
do anything that interacts positively with one another. You're pretty much picking one or the other, and there's just nothing else there. And Umbra in general kind of sucks,
Yeah.
frankly. So
Yeah.
I don't like playing an Umbra run if I can avoid it. And like this case is basically like, I don't know, show me Apex Imp and I'll just like cruise and get out of here, please.
Yeah.
It's a rough one for sure. I think that Umbra has some of the worst units in the game because they're so reliant on Gorge, and you know, like that's not cool. That's like there is like the soft synergy of Ember Drain strats usually involving a ton of rage, and then the Hellhorn having rage synergies as well. But like that's not enough. That's not enough. Like that's nothing. Like it doesn't. That's usually. I mean, I'm sure it's been relevant for someone at some point, but I don't think that's been relevant for me ever. Maybe I've done
Yeah.
it once with like Deranged Brute, where it's like, oh, I Deranged Brute, and then I did, perils and stuff, and it worked. But like, it's just, when we're saying that, oh, a rare unit, in Hellhorned makes this weird fringe strategy that doesn't even happen very often in Umbra playable, like you're fucked. It's not a
Yeah.
good. It's not a good move.
Yeah, it's real tough. Like, and you're basically banking on a high roll here. Otherwise, you're kind of just throwing part of this away and dealing with it, and it sucks. Yeah,
It's okay to say that, like, I mean, with the exiled half of it, Plinks are pretty good in the early game for picking off any backliners or clergyman starts. You can feed morsels to Brawler Prince in the early game, and that's usually enough to get you through like the first ring or two. Not really enough for Daedalus, but hopefully by then you found, I don't know, a Crucible Warden.
I've actually had a couple runs where I would shroud spike a commemorative rail spike morsel miner into Brawler Prince to win, and it doesn't happen often, but it is definitely functional.
Yeah. I struggle with this combo. I haven't placed it yet. I think that because like thinking back to Hellhorn Stygian, which I put in C tier, right? I gave it the problem because it has trouble getting out of the early game. I really don't feel like this combo has a lot of trouble getting out of the early game. This is a combo that really struggles with finding a line that wins, right? I think that there's not a lot of very obvious things you do that win with this combo. Well, like Morsel made Apex Imp, of course, but like outside of that, what are you doing with this combo?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
exactly right. That's the right way of putting it because you're right. I mean, like any of the basic gorgers, like Crucible fellows, they can get you out of the early game no problem. Like
mhm.
that's easy. They just have
Even
like, yeah, go for it.
even just like I think that Shade Splitter is a pretty strong early game card. Giving your prince like +6 health is usually going to be enough to get through the first two combats. So you feed him like 3 or 4 morsels and he kills everything for you. I think that I'm gonna put this C tier. I think it's not that bad, but it's really weird, right? You end up doing something weird, but the reason that I'm putting this in C tier is basically entirely because of Trample Stone. I think that Trample Stone is often going to be the easiest and most obvious line to win, but it's weird. It's like it's not a great combo.
Yeah, I've got it in D just because I think that the end game lines are really banking on specific hits, like specific
Mhm.
rare cards too, that are just you're not going to see them in every run. So,
Yeah.
and solving the win without one of those hits is very tough. It's like, I don't know, hit Transcend Imp with some imps or hit
Mhm.
Trample Stone with a big man or something like that. But it's always a rare card. And if you miss it, you're kind of screwed.
I think it just from a like a like just like looking at the clan combo and like without playing the run, knowing your best bet. I think in this clan combo, you're probably just best off going all in on morsels and just hoping for a way to play morsels top floor. I think that's like maybe your best winning line, just like just from an overhead view before you even start the run, and that's like not good. Like I don't know. It just seems like I don't like trying to bank on finding a specific rare card. So like it just seems like not a fun clan combo to me. Um,
Yeah.
and like I'm thinking about it right now. I think these two clans have the literal worst banners.
Yeah.
I think they have trash banners. Although I guess I will point out that you can do uh I think Steelworker. If it generates enough armor, it can protect morsels. But I think the way the sequencing works is they have to be summoned after the attack or whatever. So you need like morsel master, whichever one makes morsels. Like
Yeah.
it's just nonsense. Like
Yeah.
it's just insanity.
Yeah,
It's
I think
Uh
the weirdest one I think I've done is like I've infused Welder Helper into another imp and then played it after my morsels to keep them alive with armor.
yeah.
And I mean, it works, but it's a bit of a struggle.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is that like we were talking, I think like we've talked about with the other two combos, right? You kind of want to lean into your other clan for units with Hellhorned, because Hellhorn units they're not bad, but some of them are
Not
Demon Fiend,
yeah, some of them
and
are Demon Fiend, some of them are I don't know guys. People told me Railbeater was great after the DLC. I've still like haven't done shit with it.
he's fine. He's
Oh,
not
I don't think
great.
I
I
think he's a
like him a
trap.
lot. I think he's
I
really good.
I think he's
I
like
don't know.
A tier, B tier probably.
Yeah, I mean, he sticks around with 40 HP out the gate, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
And
That is a good number. Don't get me wrong, but like I don't know. I think he's secretly not as good as people say. But uh I digress. Like I think between all of the clans, I think Hellhorn and Umbra are probably competing for the worst banner units in general. Like overall rating on their units.
yeah. You have the highest likelihood with this two clan combo to just see a banner that gives you units you can't play, right? You can see
Mhm.
like Maker, Morsel Master, or you can see Demon Fiend, Alpha Fiend, and those are just like, oh wow, what do I do with these? Die.
And
yeah,
then from your draft trials, you've got like Alloy Construct, uh Demon Fiend, and you're just like, what am I doing with all this?
I think Allied Construct is pretty good as long as you're not playing
It's
with
agreed.
Blink.
Yeah.
it's definitely their best unit. Don't get me wrong, but like I hate them.
Yeah,
It's
he's
tough. I actually think pretty highly of Hellhorned units on average, but there are some really bad ones, is I
yeah,
think the problem. And
Mhm.
it's easy to look at a banner and like think of all of the ones you can hit and be like, oh man, it sucks because there's these ones I could pick out that are really bad. But like Steelworker, Rail Beater, Horned Warrior, I can make Brandon functional. Like
yeah,
that's four out the gate that I feel pretty good about when I see them. And the problem is that I think a lot of Hellhorned infusions in particular are really good into sweepers, and Umbra has none. So you really don't have that nice play back there, right? One thing I will call attention to that I think is absolutely awesome, though, is that this is the clan combo with Shadow Eater plus Alpha Fiend,
yeah,
which I think is nuts if you can actually get it to line up. So don't sleep on it.
yeah,
Also, we should mention another important one. You've got the classic Sketches of Salvation. You know, just fingers crossed. Consumer of Crowns and Shadow Siege plan.
yeah. That's true
Just
too.
pick up the early sketches and just be like, come on, give me one, give me one of the two.
I I think that Hellhorned is scary. I'm gonna use an example from a recent video that I did. For the purposes of trying to win a lot, I don't think that you can bank on Hellhorn banners, right? So like I had a run recently where I was like, yeah, this run I would really like to see Steelworker, right? I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and I looked ahead and I had a Hellhorn banner, and in my unit draft there was a Wickless Baron, and I said this Wickless Baron isn't great. He's not the unit that I want to play because he doesn't help my Prince survive, right? And there was a Hellhorn banner ahead, and I clicked on the Wickless Baron anyway as a just in case, and my Hellhorn banner was like it was Consumer of Crowns Alpha Fiend, and if I hadn't taken the Wickless Baron, I would have lost the run. And
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing where if you're trying to consecutively streak, banking on a Hellhorn banner, especially like a Ring 1 Hellhorn banner, there is a small chance that you just lose the game for doing that. And that's something that you want to
Mm.
look out for, especially with Hellhorn and Umbra as your combo.
Agreed. I mean, it's one thing. The one thing I'll say is if you have the steel shop with you, you can usually just throw some upgrades at a train steward to survive.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I tend to go to the steel shop almost always, unless I know there's a really strong upgrade on the magic side. But the other part of that, you're absolutely right. I almost always, for consecutive win streaking, pick the first solution that I'm shown that seems reasonable enough to win, and I lean into it. I'm not going to I usually don't pivot unless something is so strong that it makes me feel even more confident in the run, you know?
Yeah. Game doesn't really reward you for pivoting, it feels like. All right. I got on a bit of a tangent there, I feel like, but we can bring it back around. Give me your final ratings for Hellhorn Umbra? I want to hear him just
I've
say
got
them
it
in a row.
D.
D.
I'm leaving it F.
And I said C. It's one where I considered knocking Hellhorn Stygian down to D, but I'm gonna leave them both in C. All right. Up next, Exile Hellhorn Umbra. I think this is a strong D.
Yeah. I don't think there's much else to say. I mean, you have the
Yeah.
same problems we just talked about. You just now have Queen instead of Prince. Prince sometimes benefits from morsels a little. It can be fine in the early game. Queen almost never benefits from morsels, but Imperialist is just excellent and is basically a really strong sweeper that can kind of enable a lot of other strategies. I think both have pros and cons here, and they kind of are pretty comparable. So I've got it as D as well.
I had it as C tier before I had D tier available to me as an option. I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to put it down to D tier here for me because, like, yeah, Imperialist is really cool. One thing that the Umbra clan struggles with a lot is backline clear. Unless they get trampled on, they don't do it at all, basically. And then there's also Shadow Eater too, I guess, which exists. But that's their one option. They have Shadow Eater, they have trample. Kind of, I guess they have Excavation Eruption, but fuck that.
Yeah.
Everyone hates that spell. So it's nice to have Imperialists who can just like, hey, I'll do it for you. I'll kill the back line. But
I really hate the change they made to Excavation Eruption. I wish it was still 4 hits and it just did a little less damage.
Yeah. It's
what was the actual nerf? Was it just 4 to 3 and that's it?
Yeah.
they lowered its energy cost too, right?
Oh yeah, down
Yeah.
from 4 to 3 as well. I don't know. I think it's like just weird. No matter how you slice it there, just a
I'm
strange card.
I'm putting this clan combo a little lower than default Hellhorn Umbra because I think it's a little weaker early. Morsels work worse with Queen to get you out of the early game, but it's weird because morsels and imps kind of compete in the same space where you're trying to use your space to feed morsels and also throw imps down, so they kind of clash in that regard. Point up because you get space prism for your imps, at least sometimes you can skip a space upgrade because you get intrinsic space prism or something like that.
True. Space Prism is a really good card. I'll give it that.
Mm-hmm. Umbra does have. I think that a lot of runs I've noticed with Umbra, you have like one or two Umbra cards, and it's usually like Prismal Dust or Space Prism, just kind of sitting there going, "Hey, I'm here. I'm Umbra."
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like we covered most of what there is to say about this clan.
Yeah, I think the Space Prism thing is a very good argument for it being a little bit better than the default version of Hellhorn here. Like
Mm-hmm.
Queen wants size.
Yeah,
So it's a good to have it's good to have those slightly bigger floors. But like again, it's the same issues as before. Bad units.
yeah.
Pick one or the other, like, and just hope you get what you need.
I'm gonna put it just like slightly worse than default Hellhorned Umbra because I think that Queen. I really like that Prince plus Morsels can get out of the early game pretty easily, and I think that
Yeah.
Queen plus Morsels has a little bit of trouble.
I also think Prince in general is stronger in the early game compared to Queen.
Yeah.
So I think that is definitely a point in that combo's favor.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Nah, I think we covered all of it.
You guys gonna try to remember. Just give me like a what'd you put it in? CC?
A D.
I'm
For
D,
me.
yeah.
D. Oh, so we all went D. Okay. All right. Been gotta tell you, I just want to take a quick aside. I've been looking at this thing at the bottom, like the lineup here. If you organize them by clan combo, doesn't it kind of look like the Wormkin Hellhorn Wormkin is a little face? You see that? You got two eyes and a nose there.
You mean the
That is a bit of a
exile
stretch, my man.
Wormkin?
I don't know. I'll take a
You said
screenshot
you
of
said
it.
you said Wormkin exile Wormkin.
No. So
What?
you look at the last three symbols in the row. So you got Hellhorn Wormkin, and then you got Exile Hellhorn Wormkin. If you look at just the Wormkin and then the Hellhorned and then the Wormkin, that's a face.
Ah, yeah, I see it.
Yeah. See.
I kind of see it. All right.
Not,
I
not so
think
crazy.
I think the Umbra icon looks a little more like an eyeball though, with like smoke coming off of it.
Oh yeah, I could see that too. I've been looking at that and I had to say something about that at some point. Anyway, Hellhorn melting. This combo's pretty good. Melting is strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I give default Hellhorn melting A tier.
I actually said the same thing. I mean, give me reform and I can do pretty whack stuff with almost any clan.
Mm-hmm.
Melting banners are great. There basically are no dead hits.
Yeah.
All the rares are excellent. All the uncommons are either functional or excellent. And yeah, so I never feel bad with this combo. Plus, I mean, there is always reforming an imp, and
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
just nuts.
That is
Plus,
so
you
good.
get burnout one in shops, which is excellent for
Yeah.
imps. So and for tombs. So it's just so nice.
Yeah. I agree.
They don't do anything insanely strong. They've committed the cardinal sin of not having little fade.
Yeah.
But the combo works all together, and you get that sometimes rare rage crossover synergy where it's like you have big slime and you're like doing rage stuff with like I don't know deranged brute. That's always fun.
You called my man Big Slime.
Yeah. What the hell? Watching too much Darkest Dungeon last night.
But you know how it is.
Just ignore it. Pretend it goes
I'm
away.
not. Hey. You think I know any of the names of cards in this game? I still haven't learned half the Wormkin cards.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, what's the one that applies melee weakness, huh? The Wormkin card that does melee weakness? What's the name of that
Forced
one?
Force
contamination.
contamination.
Fuck you guys. You're so cool, don't you? Because you know the names of cards.
There probably are a couple cards I would forget, but you'd have to pick one that I actually don't click on, like a bad card.
All right. Melting card that costs 3 and does 3 dazed.
That's
I got it.
Uh-huh.
You want to go Cranberry? I'll give it to you.
So I got a coin toss here. I'm gonna say it is Mortal Entrapment.
Hell
Yes,
yeah.
He's done it.
It was either Mortal or Molten, and I always mix that one up.
Yeah, fair.
Molten Entrapment would be a good card name though.
I mean, it looks also like it's like melted candle wax, so like molten also makes sense for the name of it, which is why it's so confusing.
I mess that up on Molting Imp all the time. I'm like, it's a Molten Imp. It literally looks like lava.
Molten Entrapment is what they should have called Inferno.
Why?
Because you're getting covered in fire. You're getting entrapped by molten lava. Maybe magma, because we're still in hell.
Hell is really weird in this game, lore-wise, but let's not go down rabbit hole.
That's a
different
video. Yeah. Hellhorn melting is good. Like reform imps, good. Reform prince, sure.
Yeah.
I'll stand by it. I love Brawler Prince Reform. It's weird because in that one moment, I wish he didn't have the 10 armor, right? So he died faster.
Yeah. I like as like everything that melting is able to bring for Hellhorned, I feel like you said, your biggest worry with Hellhorned, I feel like, is getting out of the early game is a bit of a weaker clan in that regard, and you can pick up like almost any melting unit and get out of the early game pretty comfortably.
A little spooky when your default melting and you have
Yeah.
the dregs instead, so you don't have the primitive molds to bring back Hellhorn Prince in the early game.
Yep.
But just find a molded, whatever. Get
Yeah.
what's the Blaze one?
Wicked Blaze.
Wicked Blaze. I
Wicked
always
Blaze,
mess this
yeah.
one up too, though. Yeah.
Get Wicked Blaze, and then like, yo, Brawler Prince, he's doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that dregs are fine in the early game. I'm happy to throw them behind whatever I'm doing
Mhm.
and do some cool stuff with it. And
Mhm.
if you happen to see Paraffin Enforcer, you just have like 2 dregs behind a Paraffin Enforcer, and that kills Ring 3, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I do think that I would probably I'd move this combo down to B tier, and then I would put Hellhorned Exile Melting in A tier. I think I would diverge these
Yeah,
two slightly, but it's
I
not a
agree
big
with that.
enough deal. And yeah, it's cool. One other thing that I think is worth noting is that Hellhorned Stygian, I feel like you have two things typically that are competing for Endless because you want to put it on Shark and Imp. And Hellhorn Melting has a similar thing, but instead of needing to find two Endless, you can find one Reform and one Endless, right? Which
Mhm.
is a lot more reasonable to do.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually had runs where, I mean, this doesn't actually make sense to say about here, but I've had runs where I reform Titan Sentry instead of giving him Endless, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
Mhm. Also,
melting gets to do
also,
cool
also a
things.
move.
All right. Uh, I think that's that for these guys. Anything
Mhm.
else?
No. Where did you guys actually end up putting them both?
I said
We're talking
A.
about both of them at the same time, basically. I'm leaving them both at A here, I think.
For Exile Hellhorned, I think that Exile Hellhorned I would probably put in like an A plus tier. Like it's not quite S tier in my
Ah.
mind, but I'm not gonna make a new tier for it, so I'll put them in A.
I've actually, if we're going on to Exile Hellhorned, I've got her in A tier. I mean, an S tier here. She's my
Really?
number 2. Yeah, I Queen with reformed imps is
Yeah.
incredible.
It's nutty. It's nutty, but what if you don't find any good imps in the beginning of the game, which happens to me all the time? I know you can reform the imp queen imps, but like it's still eh.
I mean, sure, but like if you miss all of the imps, like all 3 common imps, for instance, which is possible, then you can still get away with it by going Imp Parade too. And I guess you could reasonably miss Imp Parade as well, but like I basically am never going to pick Royalty. But it's worth
Mhm.
noting that this is kind of like the double unit starter, so Royalty can scale pretty high,
Yeah.
and you
Mhm.
can get to like 150 damage by ring 3 on rally 1, which is enough to destroy Daedalus.
Yeah.
So it's like the one case where I think Queen on any path can accelerate and actually beat the early game. And then with melting, I'm always going to have a line for the late game, so I never really feel bad.
Yeah.
I
I
think this is just my inherent queen bias. I just like I still have flashbacks of just missing. I think I was just really unlucky with queen, and like the first 6 months of playing her, I just kept missing imps in the first 3 commons. Like I was just like just no imps allowed. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that
Uh,
does suck when it happens. I
yeah,
agree.
absolutely. I I think that it is like it's a step above, but I don't think it's enough for me to put it in S tier, but I'm not as comfortable with melting, I don't feel like. Yeah, I feel like a few more rounds of melting secondary. I feel like I'm really comfortable with playing Awoken right now, and I'm a little uncomfortable with melting. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it
This
A.
It's also a case where I think if there were more tiers, I do think this is weaker than the Hellhorned Awoken we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
mhm.
So, like, I guess, yeah, if there was another tier in between, I'd probably use that. But I mean, if you added enough tiers, I may have everything scaled out and ranked at that level. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Just change it to 1, 2, 3, 4 instead.
Mhm.
Right, exactly.
But I think that it is good, like you said, reforming imps is very strong, and especially like Exile Hellhorn, Exile Melting, I think is kind of a freebie. Starting with Primitive Mold is
Yep.
nuts,
Yeah.
and you just get to do crazy stuff. I think that you can do almost anything with that combo. You get to skip over Endless, you get to do fun things. All right, anything else?
No,
No.
that's it.
Okay, so for default Hellhorn Melting, I said A. Cranberry.
A.
And Dusk?
A.
Okay, and then for Exile Hellhorn Melting, I said A. Cranberry?
A.
And Dusk?
I said this was S.
Okay, just wanted to get it out. I'll have a link. I should mention at the start of the video. I'll have a link to these guys' stuff and also a picture of their tier list in the description for you to check out, and a link to the tier maker so you can make your own. But 50 minutes in, 1 minute in, what's the difference?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, Hellhorn Wormkin. Yeah, I like this combo. I think it's A. It's like, yeah, I think it's A. I think I'd put it A.
I put it at B. There's
Yeah,
there's like they're just independently strong, same way as the other some of the clans we talked about before. They don't really have much crossover, but like they're independently strong. Like they have good units. They don't combo well together sometimes. Wormkin doesn't work well with imps. Like you want a lot of space on your Wormkin runs,
mm-hmm.
and you'd like the imps kind of take up room. Imps are often temporary buffs. If you're doing like egg stuff, you can put rage on an egg, but it doesn't stay when it hatches. So there's a little bit of weird stuff there. But they're just Wormkin's just good. They do good things.
Yeah,
So
I mean, for all the reasons you said it, but like I actually have this as a C tier
Oh,
combo.
really?
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just quote unquote fine. The clans individually are good, but there's almost no inter-clan synergy here. Like imps don't play well with big Wormkin units. Prince does virtually nothing in this combo besides just kind of get thrown away for in favor of whatever your other plan is. There is the nice line of like Brawler Prince with a couple Keeper of Echoes. That's pretty good. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. But and you of course also have like Echo Transfer scaling, which is nice, plus Rage. So I mean it's a functional brawler path. So I don't want to call it bad, but I never look at this and go, wow. But I also never look at this and go, oh damn. So I think it's just fine.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm probably actually gonna move this down to B. I was debating A or B, and when I put it in A, I was thinking about two Keeper of Echoes plus Brawler Prince, or just like putting two holdover Echo transfers on Wrathful Prince and making him an actual unit instead of a joke on the Divinity. But when you think about how this combo kind of closes off imps, you can't really use them with big Wormkin boys, and eggs are kind of awkward with armoring. Yeah, this is probably more of a
mm,
B actually.
I do think that the Wormkin clan is just very strong.
Yeah,
So I
agreed.
think that like the echo it's really just echo transfer and echo infusion. I feel like the card is just the two as common cards are just strong enough to kind of do a lot of stuff for you no matter what clan you have supporting it. So
Yeah, it's interesting because I actually think that Wormkin overall is a good clan, but it's carried by a lot of very, very overwhelmingly strong cards. And there's a bunch of just like whatever cards that
Yeah,
kind of just also are there.
mhm.
And it's kind of really interesting in that respect. I think that it would be insufficient if Shiny Shoe decided to like nerf the best cards because then the clan would suck. And
Yeah.
they'd have to like bring up the bad ones at the same time, or else you really create like a dead zone period. So I don't know if they do more balance patches or however their approaches are to that. I'd be really interested to see how they approach Wormkin in the post DLC era.
yeah,
I
and
would like
Wormkin.
Kinhost Carapace to be a unit. That'd be cool. Like something
Yeah,
that actually does something in the late game, but like I don't know.
Wormkin, it suffers from. I think there's. It suffers from two of the main problems that this game faces right now. All of its really good cards are commons. Like the cards that you
Mhm.
want to see for Wormkin are all commons, which
Yeah.
can feel bad, I feel like sometimes. And also, this is a clan. All of the other clans kind of have this, but this is a clan where you have two very distinct paths that you go. You either go Etch or you go Echoes, right? And they don't. If you don't take like you don't take like that card that draws you three cards and puts consume on the spells you draw, and also are not playing like something that etches, right? So then when you see that on a run where you didn't pick like First of Kin, the card's just dead, right? It's a worthless card in the pack.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest problem that Wormkin faces. You're usually doing one or the other and not both. So 50% of the time you open a pack and just see three
Mhm.
cards that go completely worthless. And then sometimes you open Return Soul, which does everything.
Yeah.
What a card.
I
That
I I
does
do I
exist. Yeah.
I do also like how Wormkin does have like some relics that will alleviate that, where it's like, you have bog slime. So if you're doing like a JO crystal path, you can take those random not great consume cards that would normally be played for etch, and you can shove them into your other deck.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
Wormkin has
and
nutty relics. I agree with
yeah,
Really
that.
ridiculous. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Karuska, oh baby.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, as if those extract cards weren't already insane to begin with. Just toss Karuska in the mix, and now they generate you energy and echoes.
And like all of the extract cards are free for some reason.
Mm-hmm. It's
That
it's
is,
fun.
it's nuts. I think that Wormkin is very strong. I think that Hellhorn Wormkin, basically just because you can do the things you can do with Prince with the Wormkin
Mm-hmm.
commons, pretty good.
Oh, also one thing we forgot to mention, there are armor synergies here as well. You got
Yeah.
Shard Soul Carver, one of the premier Wormkin units, gains armor. So
Yep.
any synergies you have, the +4 armor per armor gain. You've got reinforced, double your armor.
Symphony of
You
the
got you got
Soul.
Symphony. I was gonna say Symphony of the Soul 2 is sick as hell, and then that also works with Rage as well. So you got a lot
Yeah.
of cool stuff going on.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. Hellhorned is the clan that combines all of the shared mechanics across the other clans.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And so, like, you see armor in Stygian, Wormkin, you see rage in Stygian, you see it in Melting and Umbra. So, like, all of these clans have something that Hellhorn can turn into kind of a high roll, which is interesting. How it's the only clan that behaves that way, which I really like.
Yeah. It's I think it is funny to note as well that Symphony of the Soul, even with Hellhorned, I usually think that it's just not very good.
I've had
I
Symphony carry me before. I've had it be like the linchpin card that got me through a run.
I don't know.
It has its moments, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's a oftentimes it's a win more. But I've had desperate runs where I was generating a lot of crystals, and like it was just barely got me to enough armor to survive.
Yeah. It's
So it's cool
I think it's
sometimes.
pretty niche,
Hmm.
but not bad.
This is the number one niche for it though. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. You're gonna like in a subset of runs, you're gonna go, oh, thank God I picked up Symphony of the Soul here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually think the other one is obviously the Awoken combo with Wormkin because you spike sentient, you can just
Yeah.
multiply her spikes
Double
to
spikes,
instantly kill everything.
That'd
or
be
even
great.
double regen. That's also a thing too, but it doesn't happen as often.
Yeah. One day.
Mhm.
Put down like 2 Symphony of the Souls and then Shard Soul Carver, or not Shard Soul Carver, Shard Channeler, and then just walk away.
Oh
Mhm.
baby.
Yeah. Put that on the multi-strike floor of the Divinity and watch the Divinity die in like 3 rounds. Oh.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think this combo is fine.
Yep,
It
it's
was
just fine.
had some pretty good high rolls though, and I don't think it has too many low rolls.
Yeah, that's the big thing I think about it, is that it's hard to go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's opposite what I think about the next one we're gonna do with the
Mm.
Queen version
Oh
of
yeah.
this.
Mhm.
Where I
I
think this one I've got as F tier
yeah.
because again, they're space hungry. Like Wormkin is going to have to live on its own floor. You can't realistically play Queen with imps anywhere. Imps are awful if you're trying to actually charge the floor in any way, right? They're
Oh.
bad inspire triggers, and it's tough. I don't like it. I
Mm.
mean, obviously, there's always the like, I have an imperialist line that is functional on one floor, and then
Mhm.
Wormkin runs the top floor, fine. But
Mhm.
like, otherwise, not a fan.
I think what you said there's the way to play it most time is to have them separate from each other. Play Queen on one floor,
Yeah,
play Wormkin stuff on a different floor, and it can work. Again, like I was saying before, Wormkin is just a strong clan. You can oftentimes just have it support itself, and then Queen is doing some things that are giving some minor support in some way. But the big issue is that you have the Queen implings. That's a
yeah,
huge issue. But before we split the tiers, I had this as C tier. I think I'm putting it in D tier for now because I don't think it's an actual F tier combo. Uh, but it's rough. Losing half
yeah,
of your initial purple cards to imps is bad. It's really bad. It's
Yeah.
not good.
I went
yeah.
I went back and forth on this one for a little bit between D and F. I think I might even actually push this to C tier. So I think that this combo brings something that's pretty important to Hellhorned, which is specifically Exile Hellhorned, which is no matter which of the Wormkin secondaries you're playing, you get a card that kills imps in your opening deck, and that's really important for Hellhorned. I think that you can, assuming that you hit an imp, you can just kind of go nuts on imps and hope for the best. I feel like this is the sort of combo where you're playing, like I think that you don't really play Wormkin units in this actually. Like maybe if you see Imperialist, you can do the Wormkin line, but if you don't see Imperialist, I think you have to lean away from Wormkin units and just play the imps and hope for the
Mhm.
best. But I think that a line exists here. I'm actually going to push it to C tier. I don't think it's that bad, but it's kind of rough. Like it is. It's not great. Like it's not a combo that you're going to feel excited to play. But I think that there's going to be like there's two distinct lines that you play, and you kind of make a decision based on which queen you get.
I've
That's
had
fair.
I've had cool times where I've done like stuff I where it's like you draft an infused like fledgling imp and you
Mm-hmm.
use that to like with important work or something like that. You use that just on a separate floor to simultaneously generate crystals and then also scale your floor. Like you can do some cool stuff in the clan still. So I don't think it's
Yeah.
like an actual F tier,
Yeah.
but it does just suck to have half of your initial crystal cards be units. Not
Yeah.
fun.
But one of the things I feel with this combo is that a lot of times, so I think that spoilers for the future. I think that Wormkin Exile Hellhorned is a hard F. I think that is so bad. Like that combo is really really bad. But I
Oh
think
yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
Exile Hellhorn Wormkin, if you don't have Imperialist, the big problem that I find in the early game is that you can't kill off your imps. Like you're generating too much value usually. And this combo brings cards that lets you kill imps, which is not something that I think any of the other combos do. Like I don't think any other combo with Exile Hellhorn brings something to let you kill imps. So it's nice for
That's
that.
fair. That is a fair point. Yeah, like you can always
Awoken with
fracture them or whatever.
Mhm.
awoken with what's it called? Not with the starter cards, but with what's what's its name? Razor Sharp Edge.
Yeah, but if you're razor sharp edging an imp, something is going wrong, I feel like.
Oh yeah, don't get me
That's
wrong. That is
brutal.
not great.
Like no matter what with this combo, you're gonna get to like so like if you start with Welder Helper or you start with the other imps, it doesn't really matter. It's really just Welder Helper. But if you have two Welder Helpers, a big problem that you face in the early game with Queen is once you play those Welder Helpers, you're locked in. Like you can't play any more units, and that really
Yep.
hamstrings Rally Queen. And so
Yeah.
with this, it helps a lot for that. It helps a lot if you pick up an Endless Imp. I think that once you get out of the early game, it's less important, but I think it helps the Queen get away with more stuff, especially with Rally. So I'll give it C
That's
tier.
fair.
I think it's
No,
okay.
that's fair. Yeah.
All
I
right.
don't think it really changes like my opinion overall because I mean I again like if I'm trying to play a Shard Soul Carver or something, those Queen Zemplings are slowing me down a lot.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
I still don't like the clan combo, but I appreciate what you're saying. You're absolutely right though that like Fracture and Echo Break are excellent for getting rid of your imps. And you have such a high density of them that you usually can solve your problems. And you may not even need like Imperialist.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that it's just you would prefer to play a Wormkin unit because that line is a lot easier and makes a lot more sense. But if you're forced into Imp Parade or Rally, you have options to kill your imps, which is what really hamstrings those lines, I feel like. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit better for that. It's still not great, but like I think it's enough to keep it out of the D tier for me. I don't think it's quite as bad as Exile Horned Umbra. Ugh. All right. Any more thoughts?
No,
No,
I
no
think that
more.
covers it.
All
No
right.
Is that
thoughts
really the
allowed.
last one we're doing? Dang.
Yeah, that was pretty fast. So, like 20 minutes earlier than the other ones.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, we I think it was a smart call to not do XL secondaries. Looking back,
Hmm.
there would it would just be like, yep, this goes in the same tier, except for like probably two or three combos here. But
Yeah, I agree. That was a smart call. Good job,
uh,
Cranberry.
yeah,
Hey.
it also maybe at the end we just go in and then we add in all the exiles and then we get to post it somewhere and go look at this massive tier list and then we put up like a 7 hour video of us talking about all of these combos together too as like a compilation video. People will watch it for the novelty.
I watched the 7-hour Monster Train tier list video Look at me.
I didn't even know what monster train was going into this, but man, I hate Shardtail Queen now.
That's awesome.
Don't actually quote me. How dare you?
All right. This week, as I stated before, I'm not going to cut off Dusk and Cranberry when they go to say goodbye. But would you guys like to do any plugs or anything before we wrap up? I don't think I opened this up the last 2 times.
Now I got nothing to plug particularly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, appreciate the opportunity to, of course, going over this stuff with y'all as
Yeah.
always. And yeah, I guess we'll be doing the other one. So rock on.
Yeah, always fun.
Yeah, we're committed now. We
Mhm.
can't just stop.
Can't turn
Yeah.
around now.
Although Voix, didn't we do one of the things where we started doing like an updated review of some of the
Oh,
cards and then we
yeah.
stopped at like Stygian and never
Yeah,
got back to it?
We finished Stygian after it was after Friends and Foes. I think we finished Stygian, then never did Umbra or Melting.
Oh well, no big
That's
deal.
tough.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, you want to go back and finish those, Cranberry? How'd you feel about
No.
Umbra in Friends and Foes?
In Friends and Foes, big fan of Umbra. No sweep top floor. Good thumbs up.
It's hard to
back-
even imagine the non-DLC world anymore.
Yeah.
I remember early on, there was a period of time where I thought Thorned Hollow was the strongest unit in the game.
Hell yeah.
You slap like 30 regen on that guy and he kills Sarah for you. What more do you need?
It's true. He answers your problems in a non-divinity world.
Yeah, what a different time it was. Because he killed
Right.
Bagmine for you too.
Yeah,
was the
and I
move.
remember
Killed
I thought that
Backline, killed
melting was the worst
Relentless.
clan.
Oh yeah, it was real bad for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That Sirens used to give +1/+1 and Rage 1.
Well, that wasn't the was that the Friends and Foes update where they changed that?
I think so.
Maybe I
Maybe
don't
maybe
remember.
the
It was
one right
early
before
on.
it. But yeah. Anyway. Cranberry, did you have anything you wanted to plug?
I don't think I mentioned. Maybe I mentioned this last week. I forget. I don't know if you guys know this. I am no longer the world record holder for Snake RX speedruns.
I did hear.
I've been.
You gonna fight
I've
back?
been. No, I've been trying to play a bit. The game's a fucking like the people that are like really good at it are a fucking nightmare. I don't want to. I mean, I'm doing it in my free time. I'm like every now and then I'm doing a couple Snake RX runs to see how I'm doing. But like I'm waiting for the game to be in a more balanced spot because like it's really polarized. There's just like one item you need to get on like the first items you get. The developer, no offense to him, he keeps adding more and more items, which I guess is a good thing for the game as far as like playing it. But I'm like, please stop. The item pool is too diluted. I'm looking for one item. You only get to look at like 6 of them in the first item room or whatever you want to call it. And there's like 90 items in the game at this point or some nonsense. So it's just like a fucking nightmare, dude. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. You can go to YouTube.
Go to YouTube to see former Snake RX legend Cranberry God playing
Womp womp.
Monster Train.
Oh, I've been doing the expert challenges. I don't know if you guys have actually finished them. I'm committed to just kind of grinding them out now from this point on YouTube. So if you want to see me play Little Fade about 15 times,
Are you just like
come on by.
if you lose, are you posting those ones too?
It's I haven't actually like straight up not succeeded yet. I've had a couple like false starts where I've gotten like ring. I think the farthest I've gotten is ring 5, and then like just restarted the run, and it was still all contained in one episode.
Oh sure, all right.
But I haven't actually I haven't managed to not succeed in a challenge yet, which is
Nice.
fun
Not
because
bad.
Blighted Existence was a fucking nightmare, and I got that on like the 3rd try.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
So
And you know
that was
the
cool.
crazy thing is your videos are still probably shorter than mine.
The one today, or for I guess when the video's up yesterday, that I think was a pretty long one. I think it's like an hour and a half ish or so.
So still
bad.
shorter than mine.
Yeah. Well,
it happens.
there you go. You can go see Cranberry suffer through the expert challenges that I'll probably never finish.
They've actually been pretty fun though, honestly. They've been pretty fun, but Blighted Existence, nightmare. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really like the card back you can get from it, so that was kind of my motivator.
I just use the same card back I've always used. It's been like 1,000 hours. I can't change.
I gotta get that bling. I gotta get that, you know.
I will never change from the Covenant 25 one that you get. I've just used it forever.
To be fair, it is a good one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna wrap up the episode now.
Can we actually say goodbye this
All
time,
right.
or have you already cut it
Later,
off?
folks.
Good. You fucker, you didn't do it, did you?
No, I didn't. We're still recording.
Okay. Goodbye.
Hell yeah.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.
Yeah, we'll see you next week for Awoken. Have a good one.